everybody, thanks for joining me again today. I'm coming to you from the kitchen in our vacation rental in Long Beach, Washington. And today we're gonna talk about all kinds of different topics having to do with stocking your kitchen. So before we get started, please make sure that you subscribe to my page so you can keep following along as new videos come out. One of the more common questions we get asked has to do with what kind of items do we have to have in our kitchen? Well, the simple answer is it depends. And part of that has to do with who you've selected as your target market. So I'm going to draft a list of items and I'll make that available. So check the description down below for a link to how to access that. I think one of the important things here is to make sure that you have all of the items that you would need to prepare food as you would in your own home. So it's really important to stay in your vacation rental and use it as a guest to make sure you're not missing critical items. Another important point is to make sure that you're exceeding the guests' expectations. So we like to have a small coffee station and even some light breakfast items like oatmeal or granola bars on hand so that when people come late in the evening, the first thing the next morning, they have coffee and they have something they can eat before they get started on their vacation. To show you our coffee station in a little more detail, I have a Keurig coffee maker here and then some other supplies next to it, including light breakfast items with granola bars and oatmeal. And then we have creamer, sugar packets, and stevia packets here as well. This is tea. You could also switch out some hot cocoa in your colder seasons. And then we've got some different K-cups here on the side with a different variety there. If your guests are concerned about the environmental impact of that, I also keep a little K-cup on hand if they want to use their own coffee grounds so that they don't have to use the disposable cups. You could also have a traditional coffee maker here. Of course, you could increase the items that you have, but I think just having these small additional things is really added bonus for the guests. So when you're first getting started with your first vacation rental, purchasing some of the items for the kitchen is going to be a very large expense. I want to talk a little bit about how I saved some money on both of the last two of our vacation rentals. And part of that was from looking for items at thrift stores and at garage sales. So I'm going to show you some items here today that were purchased used. Now, I definitely recommend purchasing things like your pots and pans, your silverware, your plates, and your glasses, if you can, brand new, just because you want the set to all match. I often get asked how many of those items should you have. So you should have 1.5 times the number of guests that you have in the home. So if your home sleeps 8, you should have 12 items on hand. These are all examples of items that I purchased from garage sales and secondhand thrift stores. So you can find glassware, although I recommend that if you buy glassware secondhand, you make sure you get a complete set. Make sure there are no cracks or chips in the rim or in the base of the glasses. You can also find other small glassware items such as this butter dish, or sometimes you can find things like trivets or napkin holders. And again, just making sure there's no cracks or chips. You can also find items like this cheese grater, but just make sure with metal items that there's no rust and no cracks in the plastic. You can find some small appliance items such as this wine bottle opener, which is really handy to have if you're having wine bottles as a thank you gift. Just watch your small appliances. I always recommend that if you do buy any used appliances that you're taking them home and you're plugging them in and you're checking them at your house a couple of times before you're putting them in the vacation rental. Platters are another good option to get secondhand. These ceramic platters are often broken or chipped, so if you can find them secondhand, that's a great deal. This one costs about $2 or $3. Again, just look for cracks or chips. This one has a good beachy motif, which fits my setting, and it's plastic, so I'm not as worried about the guests breaking it. So both are great scores for this property. I also like to purchase mixing bowls, either the glass mixing bowls or just the large bowls for use for the property. These are great for things like popcorn or mixing big salads. And again, you can't really tell if they're new or used as long as you're checking and making sure that there are no chips or major scratches in them. Glass bakeware is another great item. And again, this is one you're gonna wanna just inspect each piece. And they are not a matching set, but again, I think in a setting like this, that's not as critical as the fact that they just look like they're still in really good condition. I found this muffin tin, which I thought the color was perfect. There are a few scratch marks in it, but I think that happens with use anyway. and it's still in pretty good shape, so I do have that in my house as well. Here's a strainer that I got from Goodwill. It's also in good condition. With plastic items, make sure there's no cracks, chips, or that it's not melted anywhere. Okay, so I've opened up the cupboard behind me because I want to show you about organization and arranging your items in the kitchen. So as you can see from the picture here, I've got all of the items labeled on the shelves. Now sometimes, if I have a certain quantity of something, I will put that here, and part of that is so that my housekeepers know at a quick glance if there are any items missing. But I don't always do that, as you can see. Now some of these items, like the glasses for example, I don't have 1.5 times the number here because I have so many different options. And when I purchase them and I have extras, I save a box with a few extra glasses or coffee mugs and I put it in the owner's closet so that when one or two of these gets broken, I have a spot where I can go and get an extra out so I still have a nice full set. If your target audience includes children, make sure that you have items like dishes and cups and silverware specific to children and that it's in a location that they could reach. I also recommend having a stool on hand because not all of us are as tall as everyone else, and especially for kids, this would allow them to reach the sink to wash their hands. As far as spices go, I do offer a variety of dried goods in the house. Salt and pepper, there's garlic, and there's some things here like oregano, basil, rosemary, Italian seasoning, sage, things like that. And then I also have salt and pepper with grinders and some spices for steak. And then these are just refills of the salt and pepper up above. When you're getting your kitchen organized, the best way to start is just to unpack the items where you think it makes sense in your kitchen, and then start to use items and use the kitchen, and you may recognize that some of the things need to be moved around. So I recommend you do that before you get the label maker out and you find everything a permanent home. Another important aspect of the kitchen is making sure that your guests can clean up after themselves. Please provide things like dish soap, hand soap, new sponges, and surface wipes or disinfectant so that they can clean up after they've prepared a meal. I think it's really important that you don't keep all of your cleaning supplies out of reach from your guests. One more thing about stocking your kitchen. When you're choosing items, pick the items that you like to have in your own house. So as a silly example, I really like to be able to mix and chop meat when I am grounding turkey for tacos or burritos, for example. So I stock the property with the types of items for cooking that I like to use in my own kitchen. So think about that when you're purchasing. And if you find you've missed something, go out and get it and add it to your kitchen for next time. Just to recap the kitchen planning, start with a list. Make sure you have 1.5 times the number of things like dishes, silverware, and glasses. Make sure your kitchen is really well organized and things are labeled so that your guests can find things and your cleaning crew can come along behind them and put everything back to where it goes. It's also a really easy way for you to come in and have a cursory glance at things and know right away if things are missing. Stock up on the used items when you can, as long as they're in excellent condition. Don't put any items that are in poor condition in your home or your guests will treat things that way. You want to make sure that you keep everything in tip-top shape. And finally, make sure that you are using the kitchen that you are setting up so that you know if something is missing. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel below. I really want to grow this so that we can keep bringing you more videos, and I'm going to be showing you some more organizational videos coming up, so stay tuned for more on that. Thanks everybody, have a great day.